Okay, so today we are in module 5 in chapter 2. Okay, so we are doing subtraction using unequal denominators. So just like we did yesterday, we are doing it but with subtraction. Okay, so really we're just re-emphasizing what we've already done. Okay, so our question that we're going to start with and represent on the math board today is Mark fills a hummingbird feeder with 3/4 cup of sugar water on Friday. On Monday, Mario sees that 1/8 cup of sugar water was left. How much sugar water did the hummingbirds drink? So I'm going to find the number I'm looking for is 3/4 minus 1/8. So I'm going to place my 1/2 first, and then I'm going to place my 3/4. So that should be 3 of my yellow. I have 3 yellow pieces here. Remember, try to line them up as best as you can. But remember, we're subtracting this time. So instead of adding it to the end, that would be adding, right? I'm going to add it underneath my 3/4. And how much did they subtract? 1/8. Okay, so I'm taking 3/4 and I'm subtracting 1/8. So I need to find the difference between these two numbers. Just looking at it, can I just subtract how I feel like? Can I just subtract those two numbers? Can I just subtract those two numbers? No, that is not possible. I need to find something that is equivalent in my denominator, right? So I have to find the equivalence of 1/4 in terms of 8 in this case. So first of all, how many 8s are in 1/4? What do you think? Look at where the 1/8 is. How many 8s will be in one of my 1/4? And yellow. 2. Right? So then I would just have to add as many more to fill up that space, right? So I have 2 for each one, right? So remember, this was my original number, so I'm going to take that away. So what was the difference? How many 8s do I have? Lexi. 5 8s. Was that simple enough? Okay. So I had to find what was the equivalent. I had to match it up using a different denominator that was the same as the one that I was using. Okay. So my difference is, and I'm going to record it in my paper here, as 5 8s. So the hummingbirds drank 5 8 cups of sugar water. So how would I describe how I determined what fraction strips, all with the same denominator, to fit exactly under the difference? How do I do it? Or how should I do it? What do I need to start with first? It's the same as what we did yesterday. You can even look back at your previous chapter if you want to see what that same question was. What did we do first? We tried something. What did we try first? Did I start with the smallest strips or did I start with the largest strip? I started with the largest strip because I needed to find out what fit exactly underneath. So I need to try the largest fraction strip to see if they match the difference exactly. And from there, I try smaller strips to find the one that works. Yes, ma'am. You can come from the opposite side, but remember, it has to line up with one of the sides. Does that make sense? Because I need to see them comparing. I have to compare them, right? So I can't just space them out, right? Because that wouldn't show me what the comparison is. Okay. And then I need to explain whether I could have used fraction strips with any other denominator to find the difference. And if so, what is the denominator? The ones that I have, would any of those fit in place of the eights? Yes or no? Or we have fifths, we have tenths, we have twelfths. Is there anything that we could have used other than the eights? Raise your hand. What do you think, Lexi? But I already had 4, right? And I was subtracting 1/8. So is there any way that I could use anything other than an 8? Right. I cannot use the 6 because 4 and 6 are not related like that. Okay. I can't. Okay. So that's important to know that in this case, I could not have used a different fraction strip because there is no other number that is related to the 4 and the 8. Remember, they have to relate to both numbers. So 4 and 8 are related because 4 times 2 is 8, right? So I have to use 8. So there are no other available fraction strips with figures. For what? Do what you can and shorthand it. Okay. No other available fraction strips would fit. Okay. In this case, that is not what we can't use anything else. Okay. And once you are done writing that, turn to the next page, please. So sometimes you can use different sets of the same denominator fraction strips to find the difference. So in the case of the last time we did it, right, we used 1/8, and that was in the numbers that I already had, right? Whereas sometimes we won't use those things, okay? So I'm going to solve 2/3 minus 1/6. So I need to have my 1 whole, and then I will have 2/3, because that is my number that I'm subtracting from. And then I have 1/6. So I need to find a number with all the same denominator that fit exactly under this difference. What could that possibly be? What do we think? We can use the same denominator that we already have, right? Just like we did on the previous one. Do you think that 1/6 could be an option that we could use? Yeah. So let's fill it in that way. So I will fill in because there are how many 6 in 1/3? How many 6 in 1/3? There are 2 6 in every 1/3. So therefore my difference is what? I subtracted this minus this, so I have what left over? No, not 4, because this is what I subtracted. So what's left? This is the difference. How many are there? 3, 6, right? So I need to find another set of fractions that could also fit in this spot. What do you think? Is there anything else that I could fit here? What do we think? Hey, 1/2. Let me check that. Okay, so I'm going to look. Or my difference is 3 of those 6, right? Oh, I like that. Okay. So I can use 1/2 as my answer as well. And that is actually the simplest form of the number. Okay. Whenever I have to simplify my fractions, that is the smallest number. There's another one that I could use. Kason. Lexi. Oh, I could use 12s. Now I would use 6 of them. Why 6 of them? Think about the numbers. So I could do it a couple different ways, right? So I could use 6/12, right? What is 6 to 12? What is the relationship between 6 and 12? Maddie. How are they related? That works. 6 plus 6 equals 12, or 6 times 2 equals 12, right? Or 12 is double 6, or 6 is half of 12. So look, 6 is half of 12, and that's also equivalent to 1/2, right? Because if I simplified 6/12, I would also get 1/2, because 6 is half of 12. Okay? There's some other ones too. How many do you think we can make? There's another one. What could I use that could also be equivalent? About fourths. Because 2/4, 2 is half of 4, right? What about tenths? What about tenths? Does that work? Because 5/10, right? 5 is half of 10. Do you see a pattern happening here? What is my pattern? Jason. No, because I did stuff out of order. I did a couple different things. But what do you notice? There's a pattern between what numbers I can use to also be equivalent to 1/2. Grayson.
They're using numbers. They're using 1/12 or they're using 15.
Every time I use one and I measure it up and it's equal to 1/2, that's the numerator, the amount of the numerator is 1/2 of my denominator. So I have 6/12ths that's equal to 1/2 because 6 is 1/2 of 12. I use 2/4 because 2 is 1/2 of 4. I use 5/10 because 5 is 1/2 of 10. And then I have 4/8, that's 4, which is 1/2 of 8. Do you see that?
Yeah, I see the pattern.
Is that cool? Okay. Love fractions. Fractions are fun. Okay. So the simplest form of it is 1/2, right? We already talked about that. So let's talk about the next one. Okay. So number 1, down here, the share and show. The share and show. So I'm gonna move everything off in here. I have the tenths, right? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tenths. So I already have 5, so I'm going to move 6, 7. I cannot hear any talking. 7 tenths minus 2/5. So what can I use to fill in that empty space? What can I use that's different to find my difference? It might be one of the numbers that we already have. It could be the number we're subtracting from, or it could be the number we're subtracting. You can check something. Can I do 1/2? Is that equal? No. No. What else could I try? Could I possibly change my 1/5 to tenths? Let me try that. So now I'm subtracting 7 tenths minus how many tenths? How many tenths are there in 2/5? 4 tenths. So 7 tenths minus 4 tenths. Oh, now I'm in the same denominator. So I can actually subtract now. 7 minus 4 is 3 tenths. Can I simplify 3 tenths? Can I divide any number from both 3 and 10? No, right? Because the only number I could do that was maybe 9, right? If I had 3 9s, I could do it, but I can't do it here. 3 tenths is the simplest form of my answer here. Are you following? Okay. So now number 2. So I'm going to represent this on my paper here. I have 1 whole, I have 2/3. Okay, so I have 2/3 minus 1/4. So now this is different because remember, we talked about the relationship between 3 and 4, right? What is the relationship between 3 and 4? Can I do anything between those two numbers? Can I use either one of those numbers as my denominator whenever I'm adding or subtracting? No, right? Because those numbers have to be related in a different way. How could I possibly relate those two numbers? What is the next closest factor that I could use? There's this. What? Wow. So I have to change both of my thirds and my fourths to twelfths. So how many twelfths are in 1/3?
4.
4. How many are in 1/4? How many are in 1/4, y'all? Jason. 3. So I'm changing this all to twelfths, right? I don't have quite enough, but you know that what it's equivalent to, right? So how many twelfths do I have in 2/3? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 twelfths. So I'm going to write 8 twelfths minus how many twelfths? 3 twelfths. Now I have the same denominator. Now I can subtract. 8 minus 3 is?
5, 5. 5, 5.
Do I change my denominator? No. Whenever I subtract and I add, my denominator stays the same. So my answer is 5 twelfths, and I cannot simplify that any further. If it were 6 twelfths, what could I simplify it to? Joseph.
1/2.
1/2, right? But in this case, I have 5 twelfths, so I cannot simplify that any further. Let's try a different one. We're going to do number 3. You need to do it on your paper because they do not have a representation on your paper. So now we're doing 3/4 minus 1/3. Now I have 3/4 minus 1/3. What am I going to do again? How am I going to be? What am I going to be? Well, remember, I know that there are 3 twelfths in every fourth, right? And I have how many fourths?
3.
3. So there are 9 twelfths.
What?
Cut it out. Okay. 1/3 is equivalent to how many twelfths? And we just did it. How many are there in 1/3?
4.
4, right?
Yeah.
So I'm solving 9 twelfths minus 4 twelfths. 9 minus 4 is 5 12. Yes, Bryce. I would like to ask, why is there no work on your paper? Okay, let's do 4 and 5, and then I'll do one word problem on the next page, okay? Stop making any noise at all, whatsoever. So 5, 6. I have 5, 6 minus 1/2. So I need to pull up 5, 6. And subtract 1/2. Okay. 5, 6 minus 1/2. what might be an equivalent that I can use? What would be my equivalent number here that I could use as my denominator? I'll give you a hint. It's one of the two that's already up there.
6.
6. My denominator has to be 6. So I have to change 1/2 into something out of 6, right?
6.
It would be 3/6 because remember, half of 6 is 3. So 5/6 minus 3/6. What do I get? How many are here? 2/6. But can I leave it as 2/6?
No.
I have to simplify it. What would be my simplified answer? Joseph.
1/3.
1/3, because I divide both numbers by 2 to get 1/3, and that is my final answer. Number 5. I have 3/4 minus 7/12. Before I even get started on this one, right? What do you think my common denominator is going to be? 12. Good. So I know, right, that 4 and 12 are related, and I know that 3/12 fit into 1/4, right? And you can see when it's lined up like that. So what is left? I have only 1 out of these 3 here. So what is my answer going to be? What would be here? 2 what? 2 12s, right? But it could also be what? I can put that in here. What is 2 12s equal to? Let's see. 1/6. Look at that. So your answer will be 1/6. Can't just throw out numbers. Not how it works. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So let's do. No. Okay. Let's do this right here. I'm going to do one of these. Okay. So I'm going to do the use diagrams one because I want you to use your diagram, the ones that we're using, right? The fraction strip to model. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not talking. So Calvin used fraction strips to represent the difference of 7/12 and 1/3.
Yes.
Which of these best describes his model? Okay, so what should I have? Whenever I put it together on my board, I have how many 1/12s? If I have 7/12s, how many 1/12s do I have? 7, right? I have 7 strips of 1/12. Do all of my answer choices say that? Yes? No? Maybe so? Do all of my answer choices say 7 1/12 strips? Yes or no? Yes, they do. They all say 7 1/12 strips. Now you can see the representation of 1/3. So that means what? What should I have, Grayson? 204. What would be representing 1/3? How do you get 1/3? It's one strip of what? 1/3, right? Just simple as that. Is there anything that doesn't say that? Which one? A. C. It says 2, 1, 6 strips. What? Nope, I do not. Okay. So these are all good. That one was bad. Okay. Now, how do I figure out between the three what my answer is going to be? Do I need to solve it? Yes, I do. How are these two related? What can I change my 3 and 2 to make it something I can solve? Patience. Not 6 because they have to be equal denominators. Patience. I need to make it a 12. So remember, how do I get to 12? What do I have to do? Lexi. You have to multiply. So I multiply the bottom by 4, I multiply the top by 4. Whatever I do to my bottom, I have to do to my top. Whatever I do to my denominator, I do to my numerator. Okay? Use that mathematical language. So 4 12 is what I'm subtracting, right? So what do I get? 7 minus 4 is? But do they 3 12s here anywhere? No, they don't. I have to do what to my number here?
You have to
Simplify. To simplify it. What would be the only number that I can divide by to simplify my answer? Right. What am I dividing by?
Oh, what are you dividing by?
What am I dividing by to condense this and simplify it? 4. Can I divide 3 divided by 4?
Oh, 3 divided by 4? Oh.
I have to divide 3 by 3. Because I can divide both 3 and 12 by 3. 3 divided by 3 is?
1.
12 divided by 3 is?
4.
So, what is my answer?
1,
1/4 strip. It wouldn't be 2 because it was 2/4, right? And it's not 1/2 because that's way too much. Letter D is the correct answer. Okay. Good job. So, 1 second.